And joining me now to weigh in on this deal is Michel Gabaudan. He is the president of Refugees International. Welcome back to our show. You know, this EU-Turkey deal is underway. We've already seen a few hundred people return to Turkey. What do you make of it?
Well, the premises of the deal were not necessarily bad. The idea to give more assistance to Turkey, who've been hosting more than 2.5 million refugees for 5 years, was a legitimate aim. And the idea to bring some order in the very chaotic movements towards Europe was also a legitimate aim. Unfortunately, very quickly, the geostrategical interest of the EU and of Turkey took precedence over these aims. Turkey started negotiating issues that have nothing to do with refugees, like accession to the EU, etc. And the EU very quickly restricted that to try to stop the movement at all costs. The agreement has a sentence that says that Turkey should employ all possible means to stop the movement. That's a call for violence almost, and it's scary.
So would you say this is more about politics and the people of certain countries in the EU and not the refugees?
I think so. I think the divisions in the different member states of the EU did preoccupy the European Union, and hence they rushed through an agreement to try to bring back some cohesion to the EU, but unfortunately an agreement that stands at risk to violate some of the very principles that the EU has founded itself on. And I think this is where we have some worries at present.
What is your biggest concern? We're looking at all of these refugees who've survived and risked so much. What will it do to them, the ones who have to be sent back?
Well, people will be sent back who either don't put a refugee claim or who fail a refugee claim. And this is, I would say, legitimate, provided it's done in humane manners. I mean, countries cannot open their doors to anyone who wants to migrate. People who are recognized as refugees, we are concerned about two things. One is whether the procedures that will be put into place in Greece will be appropriate. They talk about accelerated procedures. The EU has said we need to send 2,500 experts. I think 200 have arrived so far. So how are they going to really apply proper procedures to see who really is a refugee? So that's the first concern. Will that procedure follow standards? And the second one is, once they're recognized, in principle, you can return people to Turkey if you deem that Turkey is a safe country. And there is a very difficult debate, because Turkey has not signed the Refugee Convention to its full, but it has accepted refugees for 5 years. It is now opening work permits to some of them. So it has behaved quite well towards refugees. Recently, it has started being much tougher. There have been talks about deportation. Certainly the border is closed, if not very difficult to cross. So there are indications that Turkey may not be a safe country. And it's going to be a very tough decision to decide on which ground do we return people who qualify as refugees to Turkey. And then the human cost, of course, is tremendous. We're talking about people who suffered violence, tremendous losses to their families, to their belongings, who did this trip towards Europe in absolute despair, and now we're sending back, we're adding to the despair. And one would hope that the EU would really open its doors through legal means. Meeting called by the UN Refugee Agency a few days ago in Geneva was extremely disheartening, in that the offers of European countries were far too short from the needs. And that seems to indicate that we did not want these people to come legally, but we're not quite sure we want them to come legally either.
And you make an excellent point, because is this really just shifting the issue? Because they get back to Turkey, then what?
Yeah. And the whole deal is supposed to be to prevent death at sea. Of course, we all want this to happen, and to fight the smugglers. And you fight the smugglers by addressing the root cause of why people are desperate to move. And it's because the countries bordering Syria have been hosting such a large number of refugees for so many years that they're bursting at the seam. And we're not providing the different aspects of burden sharing that we should do. Development aid, more humanitarian aid, and a legal pathway to move out. And it's not only resettlement, could be student visa, could be family reunification. There are many ways you can alleviate the pressure on these populations.
So very quickly, we have just a few seconds left. Will this prevent smuggling when they know that there's a good chance that they'll be sent back?
I think what you may have is, on the short term, the numbers will diminish, but as the pressure for people to move is there, the smugglers will find alternative routes, and they're probably going to be more dangerous.
All right, Michel Gabaudan, thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.